First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my family after they went no contact for 1 year? I am 23 female. My family do everything together. My family, my mom, 50 female, and dad, 50 male. My older brother and sister, 25 female and male. My older sister, 24 female, and my little brother, 21 male. My mom stayed at home with us and took care of raising us. As siblings became best friends. We were really close. When they wanted to borrow clothes or electronics, I never said no. When they needed money for something, I would give them what I had saved up. The incident. A little after I turned 22, my parents called us on Zoom for an emergency family meeting. My father looked really mad, and my mom was on the verge of tears. My little brother was sitting next to them. He still lives at home, and he explained that he couldn't find his envelope with money, around $3,000. I was really confused as to why this was an emergency, so I asked if they thought someone had stolen it. Everyone was looking really awkward and weird, looking away from the camera and not making eye contact. Finally, my older brother said that they knew I was having money problems. I was floored. I had asked my older brother for a loan a few months ago. I needed a computer, which I dropped because I got a computer on my birthday. I tried to explain that I needed money for a computer. My dad flipped and started screaming horrible things at me, saying he knew I stole the money because I was creeping around my little brother's room at my birthday party. Not true. I was coming out from the toilets when I bumped into my dad. Anyway, my dad said we wanted nothing to do with me, and that they were all going to go no contact until I confessed. Then they all ended a call. I tried to call, but I was blocked. I went to their house in the middle of the night in pouring rain and they wouldn't open the door. I was completely broken. My family was ready to throw me away. I tried for months to come to contact, but all I ever got was, "Are you ready to confess?" And when I said no, they would ignore me. A year later, my mom called. She asked me if I could come over for dinner. Everyone was sweet and nice. They had made my favorite meal. I sat down and started crying because I couldn't understand. My dad explained that my older brother had confessed. He had taken the money to fund a pyramid scheme he had gotten involved in. He was too embarrassed to admit and let me take the fall for it. My older brother was seated at the table, and that bothered me for some reason. I asked my family why it was so easy for them to throw me away like that, but they can't go no contact with my older brother. My dad told me to just forgive and forget, and everybody can make mistakes. I just got up and left. I blocked everyone and ignored them. Just give them a taste of their own medicine. But I can't help but feel bad. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my family after they went no contact for 1 year? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They showed you that you were disposable to them. You would be much better off making no contact a permanent idea, than spending the rest of your life walking on eggshells in case they decided to make you a scapegoat and discard you again. Good on you for blocking them. I don't think it can be said any better, really. Plus, they're just like, oops, never mind. Don't make a big deal of it. Not even admitting what an awful thing they did. Not the a-hole. If they can throw away their daughter without evidence, they don't deserve you. Yeah, I would have huge problems with this. This is such a heartbreaking situation. And to gloss over the difference in how they treated you versus him, and how your brother just throw you under the bus like that, and how your mom can just no contact for a year. When you wrote about standing in the rain, I legit wanted to cry. Your dad doesn't get to go the forgive and forget routine after destroying your family circle for a year. Not a a-hole. I'm sorry. And I'm usually one who offers grace to family, but I have a hard time seeing how you all heal and move on. I don't know if I could just come back from that like nothing happened. They obviously don't trust you at all, and to think of all the holidays and birthdays you missed because of it. Not a a-hole. What kind of parents block their kid from their life just because they suspect some wrongdoing without any proof? Even if you were guilty, they should have openly talked and helped you out of the mess. Your brother stole the money, pinned the blame on you, blocked you from the family, and is now pretending like nothing happened? And your parents don't seem to have asked you for forgiveness either, and are fine with your brother's behavior. If you don't cut them out now, you are just going to be in for more emotional manipulation in the future. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being mad my mom told her husband my dad isn't my bio dad? My mom got married 11 months ago. Right before the wedding, I, 16 female, found out my mom had told her husband that I am not my dad's bio daughter. Back when my parents first divorced 5 years ago, I asked her not to tell any future boyfriends or husbands because it's not something we broadcast, and it's not something I really want people to know. I also brought it up again when she first met her husband. I always hated people asking about my real dad and stuff. My dad is my dad. He stepped up when I was 7 months and even adopted me when I was 3 after he and my mom married, and he never treated me any different from my siblings who are his bio kids. Then I found out 2 days before their wedding that my mom had told him. He told me and my siblings about him being excited to be our new dad. I said he wasn't going to be our new dad because we already had one. Then he told me that if I could accept my dad and he could accept me, why couldn't I do the same for him and his kids? I asked what he meant, and he said it was no different than my dad not being my real dad. I was so mad. My mom told me she couldn't lie to her husband. I told her then women up and tell me she wouldn't do the one freaking thing I asked of her. Ever since, I can't even look at my mom. I barely talk to her. I feel so damn betrayed, and for it to be thrown in my face like that is the very reason I didn't want it revealed. Her husband thinks I'm being such a problem child, and he still believes him marrying my mom when I'm 15 and have a dad is the same as my dad stepping up when I'm 7 months and raising me and adopting me as soon as he could. He thinks my dad isn't my real dad, but acts like he could be. They think I'm being a brat for holding this against her and not caring anymore about our relationship. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole for feeling betrayed. A good father has nothing to do with being bio. It's being there. When you come down, you might want to explain to new husband that it's not about/against him. He might be a great stepdad, but he won't be your dad. The dad that raised you. I have no suggestion for your mom. I think she should apologize to you for breaking your trust. I don't think the mom is the a-hole here just for telling her fiancé/husband. It's also a part of her personal history, and this person is her husband, not some random boyfriend. People talk about their past relationship with spouses. It'd be super weird if that came up later in the marriage and he didn't know. Mom is an a-hole for marrying someone who would say such an awful thing to her child. It's a poor judge of character and/or a total lack of concern. Not the a-hole. Then you guys' reaction pretty much sums up why you are right to feel the way you do. There are 3 men who might conceivably claim the title, and only one qualifies. There's your sperm donor. There's the man who raised you from an infant. And there's this new guy who thinks he can just take possession of you at age 15, like signing the pink slip of a car to a new owner. Parental role by new adults in a child's life is earned, not assumed, and the fact that he believes he can just step into those shoes when you already have someone to fill them makes me think he's going to be really bad at it. I don't think your mom is an a-hole for telling him the whole picture, because as one of the responsible adults in the house, he needs to understand what he's getting into. But she is the a-hole for taking his side and for thinking you're being a brat about this. Yep, that attitude is basically going to ensure that he and Dopey never developed any kind of decent relationship, let alone the fatherly relationship the stepdad wants. The stepdad's the a-hole here, as his mom for backing him on his BS. OP is not the a-hole, but unfortunately this conflict is probably going to continue for as long as mom and stepdad are married, because stepdad doesn't seem like he's going to ever see reason in what he's doing wrong, and is going to continue to demand to be OP's dad. What a jerk. Not the a-hole. Your mother violated your trust. If she felt this strongly, she should have talked to you before telling him. Her husband also seems to have issues, being so pushy and needy. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother-in-law out and reporting my therapist? Let me explain, even though I don't like to talk about it. I, 25 male, was involved in an auto accident. I was the one driving and lost my dad who was with me at the time. I had untreated post-traumatic stress disorder for nearly a year. I couldn't speak about it to anyone. My sister got me in therapy 2 months ago because she said that I needed it. This is our first holidays without dad, and I wasn't intending on doing anything this year, but the family decided to come and spend time with me. My aunt, my cousin and her kids, my sister and my brother-in-law and my mom. My brother-in-law started bringing up the accident in detail, exactly the way I describe it, like he heard it from me, and the number of sessions I've attended so far. brought up the name of my therapist and asked if he's the one I've been seeing. Then, he started asking me how I'm doing, / if my therapy sessions are benefiting me or not, / and telling the exact time I got into therapy. And then casually said that I shouldn't tell people that I feel responsibility for what happened, implying that I told my therapist that. I was taken aback. I asked how he knew all that. My sister said she didn't tell him and I didn't tell anyone. My brother-in-law looked confused when he noticed how upset I was, and said that it was a coincidence the therapist happens to be one of his friend's brother. He's known my therapist for 5 years and that's how he knew, since his friend said my name sounded familiar. I was shocked. Everyone was looking at me, and my aunt started talking about me telling everyone about the accident. I was so infuriated I found myself lashing out on my brother-in-law, and he started talking about how I need to deal my anger issues, disregarding that he told the entire family about my sessions. After arguing with him and listening to him blaming me for how I reacted, I ended up telling him to leave. My sister sided with him, then they both left. My aunt defended him and said that I shouldn't have yelled at him and hurt my sister's feelings, that he was just worried about me. I was so mad, especially when they all started guilt-tripping me and berating me for what I did. I sent my therapist an email telling him what happened after I couldn't get a hold of him, and mentioned that I will be reporting him and file a complaint against him for disclosing information without my consent. So far, I haven't heard from him, and what bothers me is that I'm not close with those people, and hearing them gossip about me like that is not okay. My brother-in-law has always been like this, but it never occurred to me that he'd do this. The family said I ruined dinner for them, and that I overreacted and was lashing out at everyone for no reason. I feel terrible. They said they gathered to comfort me and I caused a scene. Now for the top comments of this post. Not a-hole. Your therapist definitely should be reported and hopefully lose their license. Therapists should never be sharing their clients' names, much less going into detail about what the clients are sharing with them. The people who ruined dinner are the people who decided to spend time with you, and then did not stop your brother-in-law from deciding to share what is going on with your therapy to the rest of your family. You rightfully wished that your privacy be valued, but he couldn't be bothered to show you that respect. The person who ruined dinner was your brother-in-law, and everyone who sided with him. You're right. Part of me believes he did it on purpose. This isn't the first time he gets involved in personal matters, and I'm not sure if he shared with other friends and how long they've been gossiping about what I've experienced. Not a-hole. I'm sorry this happened to you. You're not the jerk at all. Your therapist violated your confidentiality, and that's a very serious thing. Report them and let them suffer the consequences. Focus on your betterment, and it doesn't matter what others say. You didn't ruin Christmas. I really hope you're able to find peace someday. I know my brother-in-law. He's always disrespecting my boundaries. And to even think about him talking to people about personal stuff like that is incredibly infuriating. And they tell me that I need to control my anger. They're blaming me for how I reacted, and they still have no idea that I'm now having an issue with my therapist. Not a-hole. Report the therapist and cut ties with your brother-in-law. If that means sister goes too, that's her fault for siding with brother-in-law. I'm hurt by what my sister did. She immediately took his side and tried to make it seem like it wasn't a big issue since this is my family, and that her husband was just worried about me. I appreciate everything she's done for me to help me out, but this hurts me a lot, and she doesn't even understand. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for being mad at my siblings? I, 24 female, have a baby boy. This was his first Christmas. 4 days ago, I got a gift for him from my sibling's mom. This woman is not someone I have communication with, and I had made it clear to my siblings I did not want her to know where I live. My siblings are 20 male and 19 female. I sent the gift back and told them they had no right to go against my wishes. They were pissed that I would return the gift. I said she was not part of my son's life or mine anymore. They told me I had no right to be mad. She's their mom, etc., and they called me a witch. The background of their mom? My parents divorced when I was an infant, and my dad married their mom and had them. He died when I was 7, and their mom wanted to keep sharing custody time with me. My mom said no, and their mom went nuclear right in front of me, claiming she was as much my mom as my actual mom was. My mom said a sibling relationship could continue, but she was not going to co-parent with her going forward. Then, their mom asked my mom to name her my guardian should something happen to my mom. My mom did not, which she found out when I was 13 after my mom died. My grandparents were named as my guardians, and again, their mom went nuclear. Only this time it was on my grandparents. I lost my cool with her the day she went nuts. She was saying evil things about my mom to my grieving parents and me. I said some equally harsh things to her, and I told her to leave me alone because I wanted nothing to do with her ever again. The relationship with my siblings was maintained via our dad's family, and I have avoided their mom ever since. She has tried to reach out through them, and I always told them I wasn't interested. Then, when they both moved out as adults, I gave them my address and stuff, and I told them never to give that info to their mom, which they did. So Reddit, tell me, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This woman sounds terrible, and your siblings are old enough that they should respect your opinions, thoughts, and feelings. Not the a-hole. I don't know how much louder you can be, when clearly that woman is too ignorant to respect the boundaries you have set for a reason. Someday, she'll get over her denial at being your replacement mom, which she never has been and never will be. Not the a-hole. It is clear you have very strong feelings concerning their mom, and you have very clearly set boundaries of no contact at all with her. You have been clear with your siblings and they crossed that boundary. They need to respect your wishes. More than likely, they do not know exactly why you want no contact. It doesn't matter, as it is your choice, and they have to either respect it or have no contact with you. The things she said to your mom and about your mom must have been devastating to you. It enraged me. She had refused to let me call my mom to come get me the day my dad died. He died while I was with him, and that was so hard. Then she goes and talks so much horrible things about my mom who had just died, and I couldn't contain it anymore. Not the a-hole. This woman's obsession with you is very disturbing. Your mother was wise to set boundaries to protect you after your father died. You have every right to decide whether or not you want a relationship with your half-sibling's mother. You have decided not to, and they acted against your wishes. This woman sounds controlling and manipulative. I actually feel sorry for your siblings. I can't imagine they had an easy childhood being raised by this person. I think at the very least, she's very needy and entitled. Either way, like you said, my mom made the right choice, and I'm glad she didn't listen to her.
I am staring down what could be the final months of my marriage. I, 30 male, and my wife, 30 female, have been in a wonderful relationship for the past 11 years. We are college sweethearts and have been through so much together, from living in multiple cities, to eloping and dealing with our angry friends and families together, to seeing each other through the death of loved ones, to getting our first and second cats together. We lived our second childhoods together, as we like to call it, and have had the most loving relationship I could ever ask for. Well, earlier this year, that all came crashing down for me. This year, my wife came out to me as polyamorous and told me that it was just something she was learning about herself. I felt taken aback by it and felt all sorts of insecurities. Am I not enough? Is this relationship a joke to you? Why do you need to bang other people? Of course, I didn't say any of these things to her, but instead tried to remain calm and discuss the topic with her. She told me that it wasn't something she necessarily had the energy to pursue, but that it was a side of her she was interested in exploring eventually. That gave me some relief, because at least I felt like I had time to process everything with her and learn more about polyamory, and maybe challenge myself to see if I just learned more, then it would be okay. After she told me, we were talking about polyamory and what that might look like for us every now and then on date nights. I was always uncomfortable talking about it, because in truth, I just want her. I don't want to think about other partners every time I think about her. I want her, and only her. Why can't I be enough? If she is truly polyamorous and wants other people in her, doesn't that imply that I was never enough? Anyways, I entertained the idea, because well, she has always been bisexual, and there was always a part of me that felt guilty for trapping her in a heterosexual relationship. See, I was her first and only, and sometimes I wonder if part of her feels like her queerness never really got to be expressed because of that. So maybe this could work. And hey, it's not like it's realistic to expect that either of us would ever feel attraction of any kind to someone else. It's just about whether it's acted on or not. The months pass and we both learn more about polyamory and what that can look like. We like the idea of a mono or polyhierarchical relationship, and I stupidly think, yeah, our love is so strong, I will definitely learn to want this. I'll be the primary partner and I'll always come first. I believe her when she says that, because she's only ever been 100% there for me through thick and thin. But inside, I'm worried, because if she finds another, won't she stop being there for me 100%? I tell her my fears and she comforts me, telling me that I am the love of her life and that she's not going anywhere. But then again, if she wants to see other people, isn't she going somewhere? I love her so much and want to believe her, but I find myself dying inside whenever consensual non-monogamy or polyamory is brought up. I start reading all the propaganda out there by people in polyamorous relationships. Oh, it's so ethical, monogamists don't even know how to communicate. Most one-on-one marriages fail because we're not evolved for that. We have so much love to give. I start telling myself all those sweet nothings and denying myself the right to want monogamy. And the thing is, I believe my wife when she tells me that she would prioritize me. The freaking problem is, I don't want that. I don't want someone to just come by and take her away from me, ever. I don't want someone to call themselves her partner, because I want to be the only one. I have given her all of myself, and she's always given all of herself to me. And I'm here making myself feel selfish for not wanting to share. Sue me. Well, this all came to a head one day when she finally came to me with what I didn't want to hear. She developed feelings for someone else and wanted to tell me about it for transparency. She's always been honest and transparent with me, but man, did this one hit me like a freaking truck. She assured me that she hasn't acted on it, that person doesn't know, and she doesn't have to take it any further than I am comfortable with. But I get a panic attack and start having visions of her leaving me. We talk a lot and she spends a lot of time comforting me, and we agree to see a poly-friendly therapist who can guide us through what we're going through. We go see the therapist, and she points out that we have a wonderful relationship, but our communication had broken down. So my wife had agreed that we wouldn't do anything with polyamory this year, and while she hasn't acted on anything, telling me was basically asking me to move things forward. I eventually break down and confess that I don't want any of this, and that I hadn't been allowing myself to be okay with wanting the beautiful relationship we already have. It's a tough conversation that the therapist guides us through, and eventually we decide to put a formal pause to polyamory talks. My life had been suffering because of a lot of losses simultaneously. My best friend decided to stop being friends with me because she was jealous of my wife. My workplace laid off my best friends and left only me behind, and my grandmother died. I haven't been sleeping well and I've been gaining weight. I just need my life to be stable for a little bit. We all eventually agree that it's best that we take a few months to work our communication and to help me move on from a lot of the loss I have been experiencing. She promises that we can go as slow as we need to and that I can have more time if I want. She won't act on any feelings and promises to treat the topic as delicately and sparsely as she can. But she also admits that being poly is something she needs and she has so much love to give. We'll be monogamous for a few more months while I get my act together, I guess. The thing is, she has been so wonderful to me, and we have had such a beautiful life together. I don't want anyone else but her, and I want her all to myself. I can have her for a few more months, and I'm afraid that when those months pass and it's time to revisit this conversation, I'll be changed and learn to be okay with this. I'll be okay and watch the world we built together slowly fade, watch her walk away from me as I stop being the only one in her life. The thing is, I already stopped being that to her the moment she figured she was poly. My relationship with her as I know it has already ended, and I'm staring down our final months as a monogamous couple. I'm trying to hold myself together and be a better husband and partner anyway. If I'm going to be let down in the end, I might as well have the best freaking last months with her as I know it. This could all work out, or it couldn't. Either way, my marriage as I knew it is essentially over. There's something else there now in its place. I never wanted this, but it's what I get. Part of me prays that if I ever entertain this poly nonsense, a few months from now, that she starts dating and realizes that dating freaking sucks and, never mind, I'm not poly, just silly. But that's just a fantasy. I got a few months left with her. Then, us as we knew it is done. We'll be something else. Maybe it can be better, but I get this nagging feeling that I'll have to learn to let her go already. She has so much love to give, and one day, I won't be the only one. And maybe, it'll be over. I'm broken, but I know this isn't necessarily the end. Now for the top advice. Polyamory will only work if both parties are 110% invested. If or when you eventually give in, you're going to hold a lot of resentment towards your partner. You need to sit down with your partner and tell them that you don't feel comfortable moving forward with polyamory, and that if they value polyamory more than your monogamous relationship, then it's best if you end things. Being forced into a polyamorous marriage will completely wreck your mental health, so rather give them the option of being monogamous and staying married, or continue their polyamorous journey as a divorced or single person, as you want nothing to do with that lifestyle. And even if both sides are 110% invested, it's common for people to sour on it quickly once they actually see their partner with someone else. A lot of people think it's sexy as a hypothetical, but find it a lot less enjoyable in reality. It's referred to as poly under duress, and yes, it will kill any marriage stone dead. For sure killed the relationship I had with my best friend and now ex-boyfriend. He could see how much he was hurting me, so he broke up with me. And then he ended up confessing to me that he wanted to be monogamous with her. TLDR, it's a year and a half later, and he's extremely depressed because she threw him out and broke up with him. He told me he ruined his only chance at a normal, stable life. I feel bad, but at the same time I don't, because he literally asked for this. I tried to tell him, but he didn't listen to me. Dude, I mean this with the most love and respect can muster for a stranger on her. Try to develop some self-respect and lay down your boundaries. She had laid the boundary that this is something she needs. If not now, then a few months or years from now. She's taking care of herself, so you need to lay down the boundary that you need her, not bits and pieces of her. Sounds like she needs polyamory and OP needs monogamy. So OP and his wife really need to ask themselves if polyamory is worth losing her spouse over. It sounds like the answer is yes for both of them. Grabbing my popcorn for the post where OP says his wife wants him back and she made a huge mistake, but he has moved on. Needs polyamory. Nobody needs to bang other people. Thank you. It's 100% a choice, which she has every right to make, but let's call a spade law. I 30 male walked in on my wife 30 female with a co-worker and feel ashamed for considering giving her a second chance. Original post. I was out overnight with cousins celebrating the holidays early. My wife of 2 months was unable to make it because she was working her second job, a bar gig she picked up about a month ago to pay off her debts. She told me she was inviting her gay co-worker in his 30s back to our apartment around 1:30 a.m. They had a drink post-shift and revealed he had stage 3 cancer. She wanted to continue the drinking and said 2 other guys might join. Her and these co-workers got back to our apartment around 2:30 a.m. and continued to drink most of the liquor we had in the apartment, nearly 2 to 3 bottles. I was assaulted in the city late night and spent the night in the hospital. She got word of the incident around 5 a.m., called me to check on me, and called my parents to talk to them about the incident. Around 8 in the morning, she called me to ask how things were going and if I was going to make it home. She sounded like a different person, barely coherent, and could hardly put a sentence together. I hardly recognized her. So I told her I was heading home and would be there in about an hour. I arrived home at around 9:15 and opened my door to find a man I had never seen before, jumping up to zip up his pants, and my wife stumbling towards the bathroom with her pants around her knees. I told the man to leave before I did something stupid, and he instantly left. I was in shock and just kept shouting why. Apparently her gay co-worker, this guy's best friend, left at 8:45, and she just started to hook up with this guy right before I opened the door. She has admitted to me they were hooking up, but thinks it was only for a minute or two. I left the apartment and was able to get my parents and brother there to help me gather all my stuff and move back to my parents' house. By 11, I had almost all of my belongings out of our apartment. Some background. My wife and I were trying to have a baby earlier this year. Early in the pregnancy, the doctors noticed some very bad indicators that meant the baby would either not make it to term or die just after birth. My wife decided the best course of action was to terminate because the doctors said there was no hope for the baby's survival. This was in July. My wife and I have been working opposite schedules for the last 8 months. We get a day and a half each week together. She hates her job and has had a very hard time not seeing me. She has been severely depressed since losing the baby and binge drinking on the weekends to cope. We still wanted to try for a baby again, but I told her I would not until she stopped the drinking. She has had no desire for intimacy since the abortion. Other than to try and conceive, she has shown me zero desire sexually. Occasionally we have been doing it, but it is very clear she is only doing it because she knows I want it. Her story, she claims to me that she doesn't even have any recollection of what happened. However, she admits it was not forced and that she chose to do it. She can't believe she did it and has no idea how she let herself do it. She had never spoken to this guy outside of work and doesn't have his phone number or social media to have a way to talk to him. She told me she does not remember talking to me in the morning and hardly can remember me even walking in. She tells me that it was purely a physical instinct that somehow came out because she was so heavily intoxicated. She has never cheated before and there has never been a single indication for me to say otherwise. She has been begging me to come back to our apartment, swearing she will never drink again because she knows she has a problem. She said she will start to get therapy to help her severe depression. She is willing to go to a counselor as a way for us to start the healing. She says she can't imagine a life without me and still wants to have that future. I am completely broken. Two of the most traumatic incidents in my life occurred within a day. A small part of me wants to end it and never see her again. But in my heart, I know I love this person beyond words and still can imagine the future we wanted to have. I feel ashamed for even considering giving her another chance. But I genuinely believe this was an extremely intoxicated, isolated mistake, and that she truly does want to make the changes to fix our marriage. If there's any other info you need to give me proper advice, just ask. Now for the top advice. Just divorce her, buddy, or get an annulment. She would never cheat on you if she loved you. She's supposed to be in the honeymoon phase. Don't build a life around this cheating troll. That is a strong point. This is the honeymoon phase, and that's the action she took. I had to go back to read. It's only been 2 months. Been together for 2.5 years. Married 2 months. Met right when COVID started, so both unemployed and spent the first 3 months together every day. Basically have lived together for the whole relationship because I was there so often at the start. Nope. Time for you to move on. You were attacked and ended up in hospital, and her immediate response was to not go to your side but bang another dude. There's a scenario or two here. That gay coworker doesn't exist, or is very much not gay. And she was likely cheating on you long before you caught them, and she would have taken it to her grave. You would have never known she was banging other dudes behind your back. A few really bad red flags. 1. You were seriously harmed and ended up in hospital, and she didn't immediately sober up and go to you. 2. Her story shifted 5 times in the frame of a few minutes of being caught. 3. The ambiguity of this coworker and suddenly inviting more people over when having told you what was happening earlier, as in more shifting plans. 4. The constant and consistent time checks and the repeated "will you be home" questions. 5. Blaming it on alcohol. 6. The immediate cover stories. I don't even know this guy. Okay, a likely story if she was out at a bar or something, but this was pre-planned. She had plans to bring someone over. She had plans to bring this guy over. Why the hell would a seeing a friend who has cancer turn into, he wants me to invite his friends to our house who I've never met before? The logic of it all falls apart. They drank 3 bottles of hard liquor awfully fast, for what should have been a relatively summer affair. I'm sorry, mate, but what she did was some next-level sociopathic crap, and if you forgive her, you are a fool. You may still love her, but that just means you need to stop loving her. She betrayed you, lied to you, left you at your most vulnerable for some cheap prick, and she only wants forgiveness cause she was caught. As fair as cheating goes, that's pretty damn high on the list of non-redeemability. At many turns here, could she have done something, anything redeemable, and again she chose the most despicable things to do to you in your relationship. At every turn and corner she chose to throw it all away. Years of effort and love and devotion, just banged away for some dude who she claims to not even know. That's how little she values you as a person, and how little she values your relationship. Don't fall prey to the sunk cost fallacy either. A sinking ship is going to sink, whether it's been sailing for 1 year or 20 years, and trying to patch either when they are sinking that fast is only going to lead to you drowning as well. Yup. I asked what the guys said when she was on the phone with me, and then my parents talking about what happened. And she told me neither of them could care at all. She continued to just drink with them knowing my current situation. Then those dudes were there to sleep with her, any and all of them. Not one of them were her friends. My husband was just assaulted and is now in hospital. Should elicit responses from any actual friends, such as "Holy crap, do you need a lift to the hospital? Is he okay? We will get out of your hair so you can go to him. I have a sober friend who could take you." Not, "Damn, that's crazy. Pour another shot."
My stepsister is marrying my ex-boyfriend and she needs me to attend and pretend I'm cool with her because people are giving her a hard time for hurting me. My 25 female stepsister, 23 female, is getting married to my ex, 26 male. We were as close as any 2 sisters growing up. My mom and her dad met when we were 8 and 6, and we got along really well from the get-go. My ex-boyfriend and I broke up 2 years ago. He cheated on me and I found out about it a week after he proposed to me. 5 to 6 months later, stepsister told me that she and ex-boyfriend have started dating. I couldn't believe my ears. I was very angry at her. But the rest of the family, mom, stepdad, and 2 half-sisters, didn't think it was a betrayal at all. And my mom once yelled at me to grow up and move on. I gradually distanced myself from my stepsister without making a fuss. I just poured myself into my studies instead and hid behind the "I'm swamped" excuse. I started dating my current boyfriend, 25 male, about 10 months ago. The only problem is that stepsister used to have a huge crush on him, and she still to this day text and DM him. They never dated. I haven't told anyone in my family that I'm seeing someone. Stepsister and ex-boyfriend got engaged, and They have sent the wedding invitations last month, wedding in June. I didn't RSVP because I don't want to attend. Last week, Mom asked me to visit. When I got there, Mom was waiting with stepsister, her BFF, and maid of honor. My half-sister is an ex-boyfriend's sister. It was an intervention. My mom started by saying that I needed to stop alienating myself from everybody and get over the hurt. Stepsister is getting married and she wanted me as a bridesmaid. I told them no. Stepsister started crying, saying I'm ruining her wedding. She asked if it has to do with me not having a +1, because she could pair me with one of her ex-boyfriend's single best men, and I wouldn't feel lonely then. I got really angry and told her I didn't want to go to her wedding because I don't like her. She started crying again, calling me bitter and a hag for purposefully wanting to hurt her on her big day. I left. My mom called me later saying if I didn't show up, at least as a guest, I'm cut off the whole family. You see, they need me there so people see there's no hard feelings between us, and that I have blessed their marriage, because she has been getting a whole lot of grief from the family for what she did to me. I'm so angry now. What's between stepsister and I is broken beyond repair. Why is it so hard for them to understand? Plus, I do have a +1 should I decide to turn up, and stepsister would regret the day she invited me then. I have half a mind to do it and ruin her day. I love my mom and my sisters, but I'm tired of them choosing my stepsister's side. And I know Mom is serious that she would cut me off if I didn't attend. She loves my stepdad very much, and upsetting stepsister means upsetting him. Any advice on how to tackle this? Because however I turned it, I am the loser. Now for the top advice. Screw them. I wouldn't go. They'll all cut you off if you don't go? Awesome. Let the trash take itself out. I need to reach this point of not caring if my family goes no contact with me. A family that would even make a threat like this is a family not worth staying in contact with. They are awful and dysfunctional and filled with hate. At this point, tell your mom that if her stepdaughter means more to her than you, her own daughter, then she can go screw herself and you no longer consider her your mother. Also tell her that family does not get into a relationship with another family member's ex, especially after that ex cheated. Also tell her that there is something mentally wrong with your ex for still wanting to be part of the family. Please don't give in and go. They're desperate to have you there because what you did was socially unacceptable. And in order to not look like she was involved with him prior to her breakup/backstabbing sister, she needs you to turn up with a smile and prove it's okay. But don't, because it's not. And I doubt very much that they'll cut you off if they are this desperate for you to forgive them. That's the rumor that's going around apparently. That he cheated on me with her, and by having me as a bridesmaid, stepsister is trying to save face. I don't know why she cares really. Am I reading your original post correctly that stepsister is currently texting your current boyfriend who is her ex-crush? If that's correct, then stepsister wanting you to attend the wedding is not about your approval. It's about stepsister wanting to win in some weird competition she has with you. She doesn't know I'm dating her old crush, but yes, she still reached out to him. I'm not ready to introduce him yet to my family because I'm enjoying our relationship and I'm not ready for their reaction. Treat yourself to an amazing vacation on the day of her wedding. If your mother would cut you off, let them. I know it's the right thing to do. I just love my family. Next story. I ruined my sister's relationship by telling the truth about her past to her boyfriend. Me, 22 male, and my sister, 24 female, have never had a good relationship. She was always the problem child, and she has even worse relationship with our parents. During her time in high school, she picked up a lot of bad habits. She started hanging out with the wrong people, started skipping school, started trying substances, and sneaking out from home and lying to our parents all the time. She was also really good at manipulating guys. She was always seeing multiple guys at once, had a lot of boyfriends, and cheated on most of them. It was getting worse over time. It started with bad grades, then stealing money from our parents. It even got to a point when my dad had to pick her up from police station where she was high in a holding cell. She wasn't addicted or anything, but she was using sometimes. Our parents tried hard to help her, get her to counseling or therapy sessions, but it was pointless. When she dropped out of high school for the second time, they finally had enough and kicked her out. That was 4 years ago, and we haven't heard from her since. Until now. About 3 months ago, it was my birthday and out of nowhere, I got a nice wish card from her. We started texting and calling for some time, and she agreed to visit me and our parents. She came home last Friday for a weekend and brought her boyfriend with her. She told us she turned her life around. She's working as a caretaker, got her own apartment, car, and everything. It was really nice to talk to her after such a long time, and our parents were so proud of her. It was great. While she was talking with my parents, I started chatting with her boyfriend. He told me they were together for about a year now and they are really happy. He's a really nice guy. When we got deeper into the conversation, he admitted that he was afraid to meet us, but is relieved because we are actually really nice. I asked why he would be afraid, and he told me that my sister described us as really bad people, forced her out of her home when she was young. We talked about it more, and she told him so many lies and twisted up pretty much everything, and didn't even mention what she had put our parents through. She even told him that he was the second guy she has ever slept with, which is such a BS. She could have easily been with more than 30 guys. I couldn't handle it anymore, and I told the poor guy the truth, and described everything from my point of view. Next morning, my sister and him had a really bad argument, and he broke up with her and left. She was furious with me. She told me she finally found a guy she loved and I ruined everything. She said she was lying to him because she was so embarrassed of her past self and was afraid he wouldn't want her anymore if he knew. She said she changed so much and is a completely different person and wanted to put her past behind her. I feel really bad now because I saw her after such a long time and she was finally happy. I didn't want to lie to him, but now I know it wasn't really my business to tell him everything. I want to fix this and still be able to talk to my sister, but I don't really know how. Your sister made you all out to be the terrible people and lied to her boyfriend. Although she isn't wrong, there is no fixing this. She's going to blame you even though her issues and lies caused this. There's not much you can do to fix this other than give it time. Yeah, it doesn't seem like she's changed a lot. Maybe she's gotten rid of the addictions, but the personality is still there. Nah, she got caught in a lie. She could have just said I have a past I don't want to talk about, and left it at that. She said she was lying to him because she was so embarrassed of her past self and was afraid he wouldn't want her anymore if he knew. She said she changed so much, and is a completely different person and wanted to put her past behind her. She didn't really change. Even if she was going to cover up her past, she didn't need to do it by painting her family's monsters. Next story is titled, I'm withholding wedding money unless my fiancé kicks her maid of honor out of the wedding party. Me, 26 male, and Morgan, 26 female, have been dating for 3 years and engaged now for 6 months. We were best friends in college and decided to start dating after we graduated. This whole argument is something that has festered for years. Morgan has a tight friend group of 3 other girls, been best friends since the 4th grade. Kyla and Maddie are awesome, and I have a good relationship with them / their boyfriends. The last friend, on the other hand, Brooklyn, I can't stand. We have never liked each other. She's rude, entitled, and always thinks her input is needed in our relationship. She has told Morgan to break up with me multiple times, said our marriage would fail. The other friends aren't like this and have even told Brooklyn to mind her own business. She blames me for her relationship issues too. She's a single mom, and is so because I introduced her to a guy I played softball with. I said he was a good guy. They dated, she got pregnant, and he split. Time comes to set our guest list, and Morgan informs me she wants 3 maid of honors. She couldn't choose between her friends, so she will split up the duties between them, with Brooklyn doing the toast. I outright refused this, and I told her I didn't want Brooklyn in the wedding party at all. Morgan got upset, asking why. I told her I didn't want someone who has talked down to me / our relationship being at a party, let alone giving a speech. Morgan said it's my best friend. She's coming to my wedding. I said fine, she can get an invite, but she isn't in the wedding party. I want to spend as little time with Brooklyn as I could and didn't want her at a rehearsal / party buzz. I also don't want my wedding pictures to include someone I hate. Morgan won't accept this and tells me that Brooklyn will be in the wedding party. I say fine then. My parents / grandma's money isn't being used for it then. Backstory. My parents / grandma were financing a lot of our wedding just like they did for my sister. I make good money and so does Morgan, but not enough to afford the kind of wedding we were planning. I said I'm not asking my family to finance a wedding where my feelings aren't being taken into consideration. Her friends that are extended family, her parents hate Brooklyn too, have called me a-hole for this ultimatum. Now for the top advice. I think your marriage is doomed before it starts. I hate everything about this train wreck. I wish I had advice for you, Opie. I really do. Sounds like she just wants a wedding, not a marriage. Opie ain't doing the best either. Bridesmaids are picked by the bride. This wouldn't be the first wedding with people who hate each other in it. For instance, nearly every divorced family. Opie should have handled this better. Marriage is a two-way street. You should consider rephrasing, I think. Focusing less on I hate her and more on it feels wrong when she has openly said she doesn't support our marriage. And maybe you also ought to volunteer yourself to have the conversation with Brooklyn, so the responsibility doesn't end up in your fiancé. Reassure her that you support her and understand she wants her friend at the wedding, but that it would upset you to have her stood up there with you when she has doomed your marriage to fail. Indeed, it is a matter of phrasing, Opie. This lady has openly said your marriage will not work. What kind of toast does your fiancé expect her to give? You need to sit down and talk about what you want your marriage to look like with your fiancé. A wedding is just an expensive party. Just one day and it will not be a perfect one. A lot of things will go wrong. You also need to focus on what comes after, the life you're building together. Have you sat down and had important discussions about life, kids, religion, major illness, moving for a dream career? You can't assume you're both on the same page. You have to hash it out. You can Google important things to ask before marriage. You'll get many results with roughly the same 25-ish things you should discuss. The thing is that this is a bigger problem than Brooklyn being a maid of honor. She's a package deal with your future wife. She's guaranteed, and weddings bring out the absolute worst in people. You need to have a discussion about expectations now. You don't need a 5-year plan or anything, but you need to know that you're on the same page. You're already starting your lives together off at a horrible place. Your wife has more loyalty to her friend that hates you, and you're not afraid to take away her dreams if you can use them as leverage. Is this a couple that is ready to face a lifetime of challenges together? This isn't a super challenging situation, and you two can't figure out how to face it head-on together. Consider postponing your wedding and getting premarital couples counseling. Last story. My girlfriend found a proposal ring that was not meant for her. My girlfriend and I are both 28 and have been in a relationship for 4 years. We have had our ups and downs, but we love each other very much. Early this year, we had an unplanned pregnancy that gave her a lot of medical issues that resulted in the loss of our son. We knew we would eventually get married, but after this, we were very sure that it's what we both want soon. Unfortunately, circumstances did not allow at that moment. My business couldn't survive last year, and my now job and hers can barely cover the minimum. But hey, story for another day. Now, the issue is my friend, who I will refer to as Frank, asked me to hide the ring he wanted to propose to his girlfriend with. I obliged and swore to not tell my girlfriend, as our girlfriends are pretty close and he wanted it to be a total surprise. Now, a few days ago, it was my girlfriend's birthday and her parents hosted a small lunch. Frank's girlfriend was there, but Frank was not. From my side, everything went well. But as the day concluded, my girlfriend was looking very withdrawn. When we got to our place, I asked her if everything was okay, and I wasn't prepared for what came. She apparently saw the ring and assumed it was for her, told her family and close friends. In short, everyone at our celebration assumed I was going to propose. Currently, everything has been clarified and my girlfriend understands, but I can see she's heartbroken. My question is, how can I make it better for her? Is there anything I can do to help the situation? I feel really bad for her, especially since I really do want to marry her. I'm going to say what might end up being unpopular. Please do not give this girl a pity proposal. She deserves more than that. And specifically, she deserves for you to have done it 100% because it's what you wanted in spite of any circumstances, not because of the circumstances. Maybe rather get her a promise ring or other promise jewelry if you feel so strongly about marrying her. I agree with this entirely. Even just a nice date night, a conversation to reassure her that you do eventually want to marry her but when the time is right and you want it to be special. Be extra gentle with her and reassuring for a few weeks. Editing to add, maybe if you have to hide a ring for a friend, tell her. Even if your friend says not to, she's your partner. You wouldn't even need to say who. Hey, I want to warn you, I'm holding an engagement ring for someone. So, if you see it, that's what it is. I cannot understand the sheer number of people here telling you to propose. Absolutely the worst reaction to the situation. She will likely be insecure that she made you propose once emotions are settled. Top comment is totally right. And wanting to marry someone one day is not the same as being ready to propose. Oh, thanks. I know that if I was proposed to in this situation, it would 100% never sit right with me. And I might even say no because of it. Maybe she shouldn't have told everyone you were going to propose before you did? She's embarrassed a bit. I don't see how that is helpful at all. I hope he asked for advice. I know Reddit can be black and white, but this just seems like such an overreaction. She got excited and told people she found a ring. If I had found it, I probably would have assumed the same thing. People aren't perfect. Instead of shaming the girlfriend for making a mistake, he should just talk to her about it.
Am I wrong for telling my sister she's responsible for her life and our parents owe her nothing? I, 42 male, have a sister, Sarah, 33 female. Growing up, our dad had his own small business and mom was an office manager. We lived a comfortable life but was not rich by any means. Our parents told us that they will pay for our 4-year degree in grad school should we decide to go. They made it clear that the money is for school only and not just free money. They stressed that if we decide not to go to school, they're not giving us the money for a house or anything. They said they worked hard for their money, so they're going to retire early and enjoy their lives together. Once they pass, we'll get whatever is left, but we should expect nothing because they're really going to enjoy their lives. Does it sound harsh? Yes. Is it reasonable and fair? I think so. They were setting us up for life as adults, and growing up, I saw how much they sacrificed for us. I truly believe they deserve to enjoy the last half of their lives as they see fit. I'm okay with receiving nothing. That is because I make a decent living as an electrical engineer with an MBA, and my wife is an attorney. We're doing well. Sarah, on the other hand, is not doing so well. She didn't listen to my parents and decided she wanted to travel after high school and not go to college. She asked our parents to fund her traveling, but they refused, and told her she's 18 and can earn her own traveling money. She moved to the West Coast and went no contact for a while from all of us until about 3 years ago when she moved back into our lives, but we're not close. About 2 years ago, she asked my parents for money to put down on a house because she's tired of renting, but they refused. They said their offer to pay for a 4-year degree in grad school still stands, but they're not paying for anything else. She complained to me, but I agreed with my parents and told her it's not too late to get a degree and a better paying job. She didn't like my answer and went low contact. This brings us up to our current situation. Next year is a major anniversary for my grandparents who live in another country. My family and my parents are going there to celebrate along with family members from all over the world. This will be a huge family gathering with people from all over the world flying in, and we're all excited to go. However, it's an expensive trip, and it will cost about $20,000 for my family, me, wife, 2 kids. Sarah is married with no kids, but she can't afford to go. So she asked our parents to pay for her and the husband to go. They again refused and said they'll still pay for her college, at which point she blew up at them. She called me to complain about how they're living in a crappy apartment, driving barely working cars and have no savings, and our parents refused to help. I told her she made choices in her life and she's responsible for it. I said our parents are incredibly generous to still offer to pay for her college and it's still not too late. She hung up and I think we're about to go back to no contact. Am I wrong for taking this stance? Now for the top comments. Not wrong. Sister was given a choice/chance to improve herself in life, but keeps deciding to try her luck and mooch off. Like, they are still offering to help her in a tremendous and meaningful way. A full ride through grad school would radically change her life. Not wrong. Not everyone excels in college. She could take the money, go to college and leave with an expensive art degree, and still be exactly where she started. OP and his parents are not wrong, but I'm curious if something more like a trade school would benefit the sister. There are other schooling options than a 4-year degree in grad school that could help. It doesn't sound like she's tried to negotiate anything about schooling. I would interpret paying for a 4-year degree in grad school as willing to pay for education and at least ask if going to tech was on the table. Definitely not wrong. I freaking love your parents for setting boundaries and sticking with them. And good for you supporting your parents' decision and giving reasonable advice for your sister, although she might not want to hear it. Agreed. Their offer was clear and it was very generous. Exceptionally so since it's still on the table all these years later. The reality is college, a trade school, certifications or some kind of training/education beyond high school can greatly increase your earning potential. And she has been presented with a privilege that many dream about. At 18, she may have the excuse of being young, foolish, and free, but at 33, she still seems to be looking for a handout. Unless there is something that I am missing here, that's on her. You're not wrong. She has been told multiple times what the deal is, and still chooses to ask for money for other things. This may be harsh, but your sis blaming it all on them just proves the point that she is being entitled about it. If she had taken more ownership of her situation and not just ranted at all of you, I wonder if the parents would have at least been willing to help with the reunion trip. Hard to want to help someone that blames you for your poor choices. Next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening my husband to stop paying for him if he helped his sister? I, 34 female, have been married to my husband, 33 male, for 6 years now. We have 2 kids, 4 male and 1.5 female. I come from money and also make about 10 times what my husband does. When we first got together, I noticed that his family takes advantage of him financially. He is a very kind man and the perfect person to have as a partner and father. To get around the whole greedy family thing, I offered to pay everything when it comes to us: house, living expenses, medical expenses, vacations, clothing, etc. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind if he wanted to be a stay-at-home dad, but he loves his job and I love to see him happy. Early on, some of his family tried to get money from me, but when I brought up a contract and a notary, they backed off. And now I'm considered to be that rich daughter-in-law who happens to be a cold witch. And honestly, I don't care. My husband's whole salary ends up going to his family, paying almost everything for his parents. Somehow one of his siblings is always in an emergency, or a cousin needs help with their business, even though they are all firmly middle class with good jobs. Before anyone asks, when it is a true emergency, I always give money with no expectation of it being paid back. Now to the situation. We are visiting his family for Thanksgiving. We thought it better to go a few days earlier. They live in a mountain town and it is gorgeous this time of year. I rented us a cabin and paid for 5 first-class tickets, mine, his, the kids, and the nannies. We arrive at the airport, and surprise, surprise, his sister just happens to be on the same flight. I call BS as it is obvious he told her when we would be going, and she decided to get a ticket for the same flight. We greet her, then I hand the kids to the nanny and send her ahead to the lounge, because I had a feeling about what was about to come. Then sister-in-law has the audacity to ask me to upgrade her to first class so she can travel with her family. Kudos to my husband as he shut her down before I could. Then she goes and asks us to switch her ticket with our nannies. I told her point blank that I wouldn't be doing that. That my nanny is needed to help with the kids as I am useless on a plane because of nausea and the meds, and my husband can't realistically be expected to take care of 2 kids on his own. She starts complaining and making a scene, so I just turn around and start walking towards the lounge. My husband follows me about 10 minutes later. Apparently, he tried to pay for her ticket upgrade, but it is a full flight. So, he tells me that he will be switching with her. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I told him that he knows I can't help the nanny during the flight, and if he was going to leave the poor woman to her devices just because his sister can't live within her means, then this will be the last time I will be paying for his tickets ever again. He texted his sister to tell her that apparently he can't switch tickets with her, but he is pretty upset. So am I wrong? Edit. So this blew up. I expected a couple hundred judgments at most, but thank you everyone. And since most people seem to be hung up on it, when I said my husband can't be expected to take care of the kids on his own, I meant logistically 2 rows of 2 seats with a wide gap between the seats and between the rows. Each kid, who are 4 and 1.5 by the way, would need an adult to sit next to them. I am useless, can't even open my eyes because of the meds, so I usually need someone to help me. We are both perfectly happy and capable of taking care of our kids on our own in normal circumstances. You're definitely not in the wrong, and your husband is a major pushover when it comes to his entitled family. That he is, but he is a pushover when it comes to everyone. I am not kidding when I say that he gave the coat off of his back to a homeless kid once, and he almost froze before he got back home. One of the reasons why I love him. He does sound very kind and generous, and it's really unfortunate that it's often people like him who are seen as willing targets by others. It's one thing to be kind and generous, it's another to do so with other people's money. In this case, the ticket was purchased for him. He had no right to trade it with his sister. I had a friend/roommate like that. She was just always so kind and thoughtful, except for when it came to considering the consequences of all that kindness and thoughtfulness to the people that actually cared about her. Oh, she gave all her money to a homeless man on the way to our friend's birthday party, and is now flat broke. How sweet. Of course we'll cover her at the bars even though she says it's fine, and obviously we're going to buy her a ticket home. Oh, she's working a bunch of hours because she volunteered to help children in underserved communities. How noble. We don't mind doing a couple extra chores when she's too exhausted to get to them. Oh, she paid for a bunch of stuff for her jerkwad boyfriend and now can't afford to come out ever. I guess she's a really great girlfriend at least. I guess I didn't need the whole six-pack if she wants to pregame with us. Oh, she quit her high-paying job with health insurance to work with disabled children. That's swell. What's that? She also has a bunch of medical expenses she knew were coming up, but forgot she might need health insurance for. Well, I guess it's a good thing her parents have some extra funds. While I genuinely don't think she was ever purposely manipulative, she'd constantly get caught up in the feel-good rush/avoiding guilt that came with helping others to her own detriment, and never considered how it hurt her friends and loved ones to see her struggle from giving too much, or how much of her ability to be giving came from having a safety net of people willing to help her stay comfortable after. Next story. Am I wrong for telling him that we live in poverty due to his poor choices? This was an all-time low for me, as usually I'm the problem solver. I shouldn't have said it, but was I wrong in saying it? My husband and I both grew up in foster care and developed two completely different attitudes due to it. I'm humble, problem-solving, generally positive, and a glass-half-full type of woman. He is a life is out to get me, it will never get better, glass-half-empty type of man. Not always, so please don't take this as me bashing him. He has gotten better with the help he gets in therapy, but those moments where he collapses and goes back to his negativity is hard. He has a lot of good days now and things have been getting better, but recently he had a personality shift again. Now, back about a year ago, he got himself a dog. Her name is Josie and she is a healer/dachshund. I wasn't exactly in on this decision, but I wasn't surprised because he impulse buys or spends, and generally doesn't think before acting when it comes to these impulses. Again, he's gotten better but it's still there. He wanted a dog in foster care and couldn't have one, so now he has one. That's how he's seeing it. He didn't take into consideration her breed or temperament. She has a high prey drive and is nippy even with us sometimes. We have bent backwards trying to train her, but nothing appears to work. And now due to her prey drive, we are having a hard time being accepted into any other apartment or house, and we are on the verge of eviction after a steep increase in rent. About $550 increase, so now we are paying $1,600 for a one-bedroom, nothing included. In the first month of him getting Josie, I begged him to rehome her. My foster mom was a dog trainer and I know a thing or two about training and temperaments, and I knew that given Josie's breed, we were going to have troubles. He didn't listen because he didn't want to abandon the dog just like he had been abandoned. And now due to this, we can't find another place to live, and we are slowly going completely broke paying rent here. We only have $26 to last us until next week, and do not have rent money for next month. He started complaining real heavy yesterday, and I will admit my tone and attitude was unlike me. He was saying he is sick of living in poverty and was tired of never having money, and I have heard this far too many times. So, I told him we live in poverty because he made the poor choice of getting an aggressive dog with a high prey drive and refusing to rehome her because of his abandonment issues. We had a place lined up months ago who backed out due to the dog. Everyone else says we cannot bring the dog, and we can't afford the other ones. He says I'm an idiot for making him feel awful for refusing to rehome his dog. I'm admittedly feeling pretty horrible for even saying it, but am I wrong? Now for the top comments. You are correct. Part of being an adult is taking responsibility for your own decisions and realizing that you can make choices that affect your present and your future. Your husband has a victim identity and cannot progress until he is out of it. When you are a child, the world can be a dangerous place for some, and he needs to get out of that space. Also, part of being a responsible pet owner is ensuring that you have the means to care for that pet. If they don't have money for rent, that dog will be out on the street along with them. Rehoming the dog somewhere that has the space, training, and resources it needs is in the best interests of the dog and not the same as abandonment. What if the dog eats something dangerous and needs surgery? If it gets sick or hurt, they won't be able to afford to take care of it, and already can't if they don't have money for rent. He should have never gotten a dog in his financial situation. He says he's sick of living in poverty, but went out of his way to get a dog. Let's see. Common costs of owning a dog: food and treats, toys, grooming, vet visits, annual shots, anti-flea, tick, heartworm meds, dental procedures, boarding if you're out of town, etc. Oh yeah, and we're in the middle of an inflation crisis, so the cost for all of these is skyrocketing. Not wrong. Exactly this. Dogs are great to have, but they are a huge responsibility, not only financially. If OP is struggling to feed themselves, then I am concerned about the well-being of the dog. The dog deserves to be placed in a home that can cater to its needs. Last story. Am I wrong for putting my girlfriend's groceries back because she left the checkout right before it was our turn? Hey, my girlfriend and I moved in together a few months back. It's been pretty good except for one issue. Whenever we go grocery shopping, she almost always wanders off when we get in line and doesn't come back until I've finished checking out. We're supposed to split the grocery bill, but those times I wind up paying for it all. It takes days or weeks for her to repay me or send me her portion. We did talk about finances before we moved in together as far as what each of us could afford, and I have tried talking to her to see if maybe she was having money problems, that she couldn't afford as much groceries-wise anymore. But she insists her money is fine and she just gets bored in the store. I definitely can't afford to keep footing our grocery bill on my own, so this last time we went grocery shopping, she wandered off when we were in line. And right before it was my turn, I tried calling her phone and she didn't answer. I tried again when the cashier started ringing up the items, and she still didn't answer, so I left all her items in the cart and wound up getting only the things we both needed and I wanted. She came back into the store after I had already finished and was sitting on a bench by the registers. She saw I had less groceries and asked where the rest of our items were, and I told her that hers were in the cart by the register and were going to be put back. I told her she could go have them rung up or not, but I was going to the car. My girlfriend got all her stuff and came out a few minutes later. She thinks I made a big deal out of nothing and should have just bought the items, and that she'd pay me back later like she usually does. She dropped it after the car ride home, but brought it up again last night when her friend was over, and they've both been giving me grief. I don't think I was wrong, but I could kind of see their point. Am I? Nope. She knows what she's doing. If you have records of how long it took to repay you, I'd show her exactly what she is doing so that she is clear in the fact that you're onto her. I would also suggest that when you go grocery shopping you make a list beforehand of your needed items, split the list, and when arriving at the store, she gets a buggy, you get a buggy, and each get the items on your respective lists, and add in any items to your personal buggy that you may just want. Then check out in separate lines. If she is bored in the store, then this should solve the problem. That's a really good idea, thank you. When my husband and I go grocery shopping for our big shops, we will use one cart to get everything, but then we go to self-checkout and get two registers right next to each other and put the cart between us. That way we can just grab what we already agreed to getting and split it that way. And we almost always come out to similar costs as well. It definitely helps us, and then neither of us need to hassle the other to pay them back. But we also don't have that issue either anyways.